Hi class, I'm back. So this is small group communication. I'm giving a lecture on, I'm Professor Brennan. I'm giving a lecture on presenting skills or presentation skills for the small group. And we left off, I think, on the presenting stage. Yes, we left off on that. This is part 3 of my video series. So let's go to that part on the PowerPoint. Just had a little glitch there for a minute. There we go. Okay, so here we are. Play from current silent. All right, the performing stage for Symposium. So we're going to look at both Symposium and panel presentation. So when we get to, this is when you're actually doing the presentation, what you need to be thinking about, what is it going to look like, all the pieces of it. Now, Symposium has to do with people each having individual parts. Okay, it's different than the panel presentation. The Symposium is each person is responsible for individual parts of the presentation, and there's no facilitator, basically. No one's facilitating it. What you want to make sure is, this is important, your ideas follow a logical sequence, as well as each presentation piece makes sense, that it follows some order. That you're not bouncing all over the place, that how you've broken up this particular topic or this particular solution, how you've broken it up, it makes sense and follows some order. You will always have to cite your research. Every assignment is different. The assignment tells you how many pieces of research you need to cite. Know what visual aids that you need and what you don't need. We don't need to have, like in a symposium, you're not having a whole bunch of visual aids. In fact, oftentimes in symposiums or presentations, no one has any kind of visual aids. It's a verbal explanation of things. And finally, you should have both an introduction and conclusion. So even if someone's in charge of, you've broken it up into 4 different parts, you have 4 group members, you still need to have an introduction, not just grab our attention, but kind of, tell us what are you going to talk about? Give us an idea of what we're going to be hearing about. And then at the conclusion, find a way to summarize what it is we just heard. Now, you're not going to be able to go over the whole thing, but kind of give us like a little abstract version of the end. Like, what is it? What did we learn from this particular? And you don't have to, you can say it in your own words, that conclusion. And again, a person could also be in charge of a part as well as the introduction and conclusion, or one or the other. But you want to have that. We need to have an introduction. You should always introduce your group members too in the introduction. Tell us your group name, who are your group members, what are you going to talk about? All right, panel presentation. So the panel presentation, different kind of presentation. You have a facilitator or a moderator. You have someone that's in charge of asking questions to particular panel members. So like the symposium, people are in charge of different parts, and should be experts, quote unquote, experts on that part. Experts based upon how much time you had to research that information. But in terms of the class presentation, you're the expert in that area. The moderator calls on each panel member. It's time for my lunch, folks. Sorry. Calls on each panel member to address whatever question. So the moderator, basically, or the facilitator, is in charge of the direction and kind of the beat, the speed in which this kind of presentation is going. That's up to the moderator. They don't have to do any presentation of their. If you were doing a panel presentation, they're not in charge of knowing any of the parts, like the parts of what the panel members are talking about. They don't have to give that presentation. They're just in charge of asking the questions. Now, you might say, oh, that sounds like an easy thing. Not necessarily. If you're a moderator and facilitator, you have to know everything about what they're going to talk about in order to know what questions to ask. It's very planned. It's not something that you do off the cup. Because it's a presentation, you want it to sound like you know what you're talking about and there's order, and it still needs to be practiced. When we say the moderator should ask short questions, it means they can't be the questions would be better to give short questions that allow each panel member to answer it, and little bits and chunks of information as we go along. So let's say moderator, they've got 4 panel members and we have a moderator. So the moderator asks panel number 1 to talk about this, and then asks for further explanation maybe from panel number 3. And then the moderator, the second question, it asks all 4 people to comment on that. Okay? And keeping that, so you're answering the question rather than giving a complete speech on something. You're addressing each question. The shorter the question, the more interesting the answer, the more detailed you can get as well. What you don't want to do in the panel presentation is have a moderator ask a question and only panel member number 1 answers. Then the next question, panel number 2 answers. The next question, panel number 3 answers. That's boring. You might as well have done a symposium. The panel presentation should really be this kind of back and forth, kind of dialectical, this back and forth between the moderator and the panel members. And the panel members can actually have conversations with themselves. The whole point, the goal of that is with that presentation, your audience gets a full understanding of your topic and what you're presenting on. All right. Moderator is in charge with doing some kind of introduction and preview of what's going to be talked about, and also in charge with summarizing kind of what it is. When I say important takeaways, so these are bits and pieces that the panel members have answered because they're put in responses to questions, then the moderator is in charge of kind of summing it up for us. What did we learn today? What better understanding do we have? And I'm pretty sure that is my last. It sure is. So let's go back to me. So that's pretty much in terms of presentation skills for small group communication. Those are basic presentation skills that you need to learn. And I'm just going to kind of go over just a little bit again so you remember. One is you've got to prepare. You got to have all your materials. The assignment will tell you what kind of, you need an outline or whether you're going to have an essay or whatever. Is follow the assignment guidelines. The second thing is you got to practice together. You got to prepare and practice together. Share each other's information. Create a Google Doc or something where you can all contribute to that. The person, if you have to have an outline, you should all have individual contributions, and then someone at the end should go through that written document, go through it and look at it and make sure that it's edited, spell checked, etc. And that the citations are properly cited. I didn't say about this. Use MLA or APA. Again, assignment guidelines will tell you what to do. Be consistent. Use one or the other. And practice together. So practice together out loud. Run through it several times. Honestly, you'll know when it's enough, but generally speaking, students don't do it enough. And know your technology. Know what you're going to use, how you're going to use it, in what order. You can put that on your outline. You all should have a copy of that, either on your computer or have it, with you. You should know what's happening from one point to the next, like what the order looks like. So you all know when it's your turn to speak if you're doing symposium, or when a question's going to be thrown at you. So you all can do this. This is cool, and you're going to have this experience is going to be great for your professional life when you learn how to do this, and then you'll be able to learn how to do it possibly alone when you do presentations. So good luck. I totally believe in you, and I will see you. Let's see, I'm going to turn this off now. I'll see you in the classroom. Take care. Bye.